How you guys doing? This is Nigel Birch, mental health and love advocate and creator of Everyday's Valentine's Day. This conversation is a collaboration between Marked, University of Toronto Scarborough, and Keeping It 100. And like I always say, love every day like it's your last.
Yeah, listen, I think that there would be two areas that I would focus on
Mm-hmm.
uh, for me back then. One is, I mean, I was really bitter.
Come
I
on
was,
now.
I was,
Segue. Okay.
I was dark. Like I was just angry,
Yeah.
and I showed it. I was angry on the inside, and everyone saw that I was a miserable person, and I just felt like a lot of people had done me wrong, and so I tried to hurt as many people as I possibly can, and not necessarily physically, but just in the relationships. I wouldn't give anything, no emotion,
Mm-hmm.
and so the first thing that I would say to him is, be happy, like be happy,
Yeah. Yeah.
smile.
Yeah.
It's okay. Take that thing off.
Exactly.
You know, take that thing that you learned in the hood and just kind of
Mm-hmm.
calm down.
So who do you decompress with? Who is your circle of care that like when you need to, have a real conversation about the foolishness that you're seeing at work, who is that core group of people?
Listen, I have some really good childhood friends that I grew up with. Um, but to be honest, uh, I'm horrible at what you just described.
Mm,
Uh, I am the type of person to just implode inside and keep things in to this day, to this day. And um, while I could talk to them about it and talk about many things, what has happened to me over my career, for the most part, I have allowed it to eat away at me and fester for all these years. And even when we think about what happened last year with George Floyd, I gotta tell you, um, I put on my invisible Kevlar jacket and I just continued on.
wow.
And it was only weeks after that I actually watched the video because I couldn't do it.
Hmm.
Um, and to be totally honest with you, right now, I haven't even watched what occurred in Minnesota. I
Yeah,
I, I can't. It's
exactly.
it's it's hard for me to see that and then go into the world that I work in.
Hmm.
It's hard. I had members even within my organization calling me, some people crying about what had happened and looking for advice for me as a leader.
Right.
So it was kind of like I had to put my own feelings to the side and just try and figure out this for my organization, for those who are around me, my kids, um, and so it's tough, right? Like,
And that's huge.
it's
You just
something that I'm definitely still working
so
at.
the next
And
question I have for you is regards to love and for those individuals that don't have love in their life, and we're talking about, let's say, adolescents or youth. Um, what would suggestions would you give them for pursuing that idea?
I would, there's a bunch of suggestions I would have. And one of them, this one is so aligned with my personality that I hope it resonates with others, is like, you just gotta, one of the things when you're trying to figure out how to love, um, for me is finding where does that exist outside of me? What does it look like when I see it, or I hear it? Um, if you're at an airport, you're gonna see love. You're gonna see the people. You're gonna see people returning from a trip and getting hugged by family members, and okay, that looks like, but nobody hugs me. So what do I, what do I? How do I need to figure this out? And I think, one of the things I would suggest is you know, you have to define what love is, even in its absence, what it might feel like, or imagine what it might feel like, and then really look for what you might believe are these expressions or gestures of love. Not necessarily around you, but look for them everywhere, and try to find, like, look for that moment when the kindergarten kid sees their parents after school and they run into their arms for no reason at all, just because school is over, right? That's a feeling of love that the kid has. And then I would say the harder work than seeing it and observing it and paying attention to it is rejecting all of the forms of hate that people give you.
Come on now.
It's the most fearful thing one can ask of a young Black man is make yourself vulnerable. Allow someone to demonstrate love to you, and be bold enough to demonstrate it back to them. So I'm going to give you, like, just a quick anecdote. At 22, I went on a trip, and, you know, 22 is kind of the height at which Black males are criminalized by the media, right? We're young, we have no attachments, you know, we're out in this, we're doing whatever, we're being young and having fun, like anyone else that's young and having fun. But that's the moment. But anyhow, I end up in missing a flight in Miami, and I end up in Honduras. I'm going to Honduras. I know nothing about Honduras other than it's the second poorest country in this hemisphere. I get there, and I learn that they have an indigenous Black population that's half indigenous, half African, that's 300 years old, and they are 2% of the population. So I'm 22. I just spent 18 hours on a flight, like sleeping in the airport, and I'm like exhausted. And the Garifuna community, they open up their arms and they hug me and say, welcome to Honduras, welcome to the Garifuna community. And I'm like, I'm a 22-year-old Black man. Nobody that don't know me trying to hug me out here. And that was the moment when I was like, my behavior needs to be better than what people show me.
Because we, throughout these conversations, you keep on hearing the word anger. And it's almost like there hasn't been someone that can articulate a little bit of a tool book where you can still redirect that anger in a way where it comes out differently, where through assertion, et cetera, which you've found a way to do that.
I mean, for me, it was sports. You know, like, I think I can't speak for everybody, but for myself, it's like we all, I mean, I dealt with abandonment, and I think abandonment leads towards a deep level of anger. And then the solve for that is, how do you find something you like or you think you like and give all your energy to it? So it takes away, if you want to call it pain. So for me, it was sports for a large part of my life. And then I got introduced to, like, helping the creative community and helping artists. And that became my joy, where it's like, you know, I can give all of my attention to this, and it avoids me having to think about that. And you learn the discipline. Definitely for me was sports, but the motivational factor over the years has always been, how do you evolve and how are you trying to do something a little bit better?
You spoke about joy, love. How do they check or mutate that and change it so they're learning to feel differently from that one feeling that they're so used to?
I actually would encourage young men to get angry. You know, like, get angry and understand how that feels, because pain, if you cut your hand, you actually know how that feels, right? And you see blood, and that tells your brain, like, oh my God, I'm bleeding, right? So the first time you ever got a cut, you freaked out, oh my God, my hand's gonna fall off. Now, if you were to get a cut in the kitchen, you're actually cool as a cucumber because you've experienced that many times. So I think instead of saying, don't get angry, it's like, you know what, get angry and understand how that feels now. So now that you understand how that feels, now how do we control it? Because that's really the game. Because I think everyone, well, just don't get angry, just relax. It's like, no, I need you to get angry so you see how out of pocket you are.
Mhm.
And just like a cut, when the first time you got a cut, you freaked out. The more you can start to control it, then it's becoming a mastery game where it's like, I'm angry, but I'm controlled and I'm angry.
Right.
And I think if you can get there, it's no longer should be labeled or branded as like, this is an angry young black man. If you can control your anger and be angry and still walk around in the world and pick and choose when you're going to unleash that anger or channel it in a different way, you're now a master. You're no longer an angry black man.
And for those that may not know what wellness is, what was wellness? What did that look like for you?
It was those elements of spirituality, rest, nutrition, exercise, recreation, and engagement. You know, I spend a lot of time painting by myself. I really enjoy it. You know, it's therapeutic for me.
Right.
But I also spend a lot of time with the band, creating songs and sharing that artistic experience. I might have wrote something I think is great, but if my drummer is not feeling it, it's not going to go anywhere.
Right.
You know, it stopped right there. Whereas with my brush, I can keep exploring it for months, for years, even if I want.
Yes.
You know, and that kind of that gave me balance to have the two. And I realized, you know, I needed more balance in my life. I needed to be able to rest. There was years of insomnia in there. There was years of doing everything I could to knock myself out, whether that's alcohol, drugs, what have you. And there was no shame for me in recognizing that, you know, I was addicted to trying to calm myself, or addicted to trying to calm everything around me so I could try to navigate the world. Whereas I just had to engage it. I had to get right to the edge, you know, and keep pushing.
Yeah.
You know, and I think what I see, as I said, in working with, you know, the young people I see, and or just even the men that I work with, is them really trying to calm it through whatever it is, you know, especially through addictions, but through other things than engaging and forcing your way through it and entering what that pain looks like. You know, yeah, that's what wellness really meant for me, was engaging my pain, engaging all of the places I felt that I was weak, and rebuilding.